Welcome back to my garage. I'm Joe, and as always, I'm here to teach you everything I know. And today's project that we're going to work on today is installing a 20 amp receptacle. And there's the universal symbol for receptacle on drawings, and so there you got that. So today I'm going to teach um, you guys how to install or add a receptacle in an existing wall. So this obviously simulates our existing wall. It's a piece of sheetrock, half-head sheetrock, mounted on two studs that are 16 inches on center, simulating an existing wall. And there's our base molding that we caulked in the last show. So this project, if you ever needed to add a receptacle, say you moved the desk in your house and there's no receptacle underneath the desk for your computer, and you need to add one. So you could call an electrician, or you could try to do it yourself. It's not a project that can't be done by a homeowner, just with a couple tools and some material and a little bit of know-how, and that's my job is to teach you. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to show you some cable, because some homes have different rules. Some allow you to use this type of cable, and this is called MC, metal clad cable. Has a metal jacket. It has 3 conductors, right? It's called 12-2 MC. You have a black wire, which is your hot wire. You have a white wire, which is your neutral. And you have a green wire, which is your ground. So this is 12 wire, ready for 20 amps. We're going to install a 20 amp receptacle, so we want to use wire for ready for 20 amps. Some areas in the suburbs allow you to use what they call Romex or NM, non-metallic cable. So that's this type of cable. I cut a little piece here. So we have this is 14-2, right? So this is rated for 15 amps, not for 20 amps. So we have a black wire as your hot, white wire as your neutral, and a bare ground, not insulated like the BX or the MC. So this is not, like I said, this is not rated for 20 amps. It's rated for 15 amps. So you would only install a 15 amp receptacle with this. So let me show you the differences between a 15 and 20 amp receptacle. So this here is a 20 amp receptacle. Okay. So you know it's 20 amp because it has a little slit here horizontal, not 2 vertical slits and the ground plug. So that indicates that it's 20 amps. It's rated for 20 amps, and it can accept a 20 amp plug, right? So a lot of older homes have 15 amp receptacles. Now this just has 2 vertical slits and the ground hole for the ground. This is rated for 15 amps. So what that means is even the mechanism inside and the copper inside and the parts inside are only rated for 15 amps. Okay. The parts and pieces that make up this are rated for 20 amps. So to be code compliant, you would have to use the proper wire, the proper device for the proper ampacity. So, but like I said, we're doing a 20 amp receptacle today, so we will be using the 20 amp. So, and we will be using the 12-2 MC cable for the proper ampacity. All right, so let me reset up the camera and I'll show you exactly how to do this physically. I'm going to use, I got all my tools here. I got all the material I would need, and I'll show you how to install a receptacle in an already existing wall. Okay, so I'm going to teach you guys how to install a 20 amp receptacle in an existing wall. So here we go. We'll start with this is called a gem box in the industry, or a old work box. Steel City makes this type. This has what they call gem clips inside to accept cable. Now, these clips are made to accept MC cable, right? They have other boxes to accept Romex, but these accept MC. Now, these boxes are specifically used for adding an outlet in an existing wall. So we have sheetrock here. Just picture this as your wall that you want to add an outlet to behind a desk or something, or for a lamp or whatever. So we would use an old work box. Okay. Now, along with this, you'll need these clips, which are called OWC clips, old work clips. These are designed to clip to the side of the box, like so. Right. Snap on, and then as you cut a hole in the wall, you put them in, you tighten them, and it'll squeeze the back of the sheetrock. But I'll show you how to do it exactly. So, first thing you want to do is you grab your box. Right. Now they have these adjusting clips here, right? These adjusting clips. So you could set these to a depth. Now, I find it that you should set them slightly past the front of the box, just slightly. So you leave a little bit of space, like let's say 1/8 of an inch between this edge of the box and where the clip lives. That's so the outlet sits in between there, nice and tight. It sits on the sits against the wall nice, and the plate sits nice. So let's tighten these up. All right. So I did that one, and we'll do this one. Just gonna loosen the clip. Most people don't do this, and then their receptacle doesn't sit nicely against the wall. It's bowing out. There you go. I'm setting a little bit more of a depth than this side. Just slightly more. Right. You can go as far as that. You can go in if you want, but we're gonna set just slightly past, so that this mounting screw, this mounting hole here for the plate is just sitting slightly inside. There we go. We'll tighten that. There we go. Okay. Now we know we're going to put a cable in here, right? We're going to put a cable in there. I'm going to knock out the bottom because I like to bring my cable up through the bottom and to hang out of the wall. So we'll take our box and we'll knock out one of these. We'll just stick our screwdriver in there, pry that up, just bend it a little bit. There you go. And now we have a hole to accept our cable. What I also like to do is where I made the hole, right? I keep that clip because we need it, right? We need that clip. But we could take out the upper one to make room for wire. We'll give a little bit more room for wire. We'll just take that out. There we go. We don't need that. That's our cable support in the box. So I'll put that aside. There we go. There's our box, right? So now we want our outlet to sit flush, right? Or sit level, right? So we're going to take our tape measure, right? Let's just say normally outlets are at 18 inches center. We're going to put it a little lower just for visual because it would wind up high here, but our cable's down low. So we'll set it at 12 inches, and I'll make a little mark there, right? And then we know our joists are 16 inches apart, standard width in any home, right? So I'm going to measure. We're going to put the outlet center of the joist. I'm going to hold it off center, right? 16. So we'll go 8, right? Half of 16. I'll go make a little mark. All right, so there's my little marks: a vertical mark, horizontal mark. Okay. So we'll take our trusty level, right? Our torpedo level, as we showed you in our tool show. Right. So there we go. The bubbles level. So we'll make a little mark, vertical mark. Right. We'll make a little horizontal mark. Now I'm using a color pencil so you guys see it. Normally you use a regular pencil, and you could just erase it off the wall. And just the light marks. But for this, I'm showing you a little darker. Right? There's our crosshairs, right? So what I like to do is I line up my marks here, right, with these holes. There's that center of a box, right there, vertical center of a box. Now horizontal, I like to make the box is 3 inches. I like to make 1.5 inches mark on each side of the box to line up the sides. Okay, here we go. All right, so like I said, we'll take our box. I made a mark here, and I made a mark here, signifying the center of the box. I line up our box, right? So I line up that line with that hole. I line up the bottom with the bottom hole, and I line up the side with the side mark I made right there, and I line up the same So now we're all level. We could throw a level on it just to make sure. And we are just a little off. There you go. We're completely level there, right? Then you trace the box. Right? Trace the box with your pencil. Okay. Trace the box. Make a little mark here. A little mark there. A little mark there. A little mark there. So there's our box, right? All right. So what I like to do is finish off the marks. Right. So we have a. There you go. Finish the marks so it's clean. There you go. So essentially, there's our box, right? What I like to do is hold the box the way it's going to be installed. So there's our hole for our cable. That's how it's going to be installed, right? Now we have a couple things here we got to cut out for, right? We got a notch for this little ridge here, this here, and then you have little bump outs on the sides. Bump out for this screw, which makes up the support, what makes up the how the box is held together. And there's another one here. So what I like to do is I make a little circle there, signifying that. Little circle here for that. And I make a little bump here for that, and a little bump there for that. Right? All right, there you go. Well, now we know we got to install these clips, right? These old work clips, OWC clips. Now we're going to have two of them. One's going to be on this side holding the box. All right. Another one's going to be on this side holding the box. All right. Some people offset them, so we're going to do that today. We'll offset it. Some people do that. So we'll do that. So what I like to do is I'll make a little bubble over here, showing where I'm going to cut for that and that. Okay. There you go. So we take our trusty keyhole saw. Right. This is an old one, wooden handle. So we just lock the wheels on the bench here so it doesn't move. Let's see what we got. Okay, we're locked in. All right, so we'll take our trusty keyhole saw or stab saw. All right, so we'll go inside. All right. I like to cut on the outside of the line because we measured tight, so we need a little bit more space. Right, so we'll cut on the outside of the line. There we go. When we start cutting. There we go. Go in. There you go. Nice clean cut. Start again up there. There's our hole, right? So we still got to cut out these little nibs that I did, right? There's a little nib there. All right. So we're going to do that. I just like to go like this. Like that. Like that. Let's take my saw. There. There we go. Now remember, we're going to cut out our OWC clips. All right. Do that so they fit in nicely. There you go. What I like to do is dry fit the box in the hole. See if I cut it good. Looks like I cut it pretty good. It's a little tight, but she fits in nice. All right. Looks like I have to cut a little bit more on this hole. See how this one sits in nicely? Right there. So we'll pull it out back out. You want to come out too easy? There we go. A little tight in here. Let's cut that a little bit. There we go. All right, there you go. So there's our hole. All right. So normally you would use your trusty snake. All right. Here's a fish tape or snake. This is an 1/8 inch snake. And you would take the snake and you would send it up the wall, right? Whether it be up the wall if your power source is coming from up the wall, or you could send it down if your power source is coming from the basement, or your power source is coming from a different location below the floor. All right. So in my case, I already ran the wire. It's sitting behind there, right? So we would stick our snake inside, right? Attach our wire to the snake. I'll do that from behind here. Okay. We pull our wire through the hole. There we go. And like I said, we're using the 12-2 MC. And we got our wire through the hole there. Okay. We unhook it from our snake. There we go. Pull up our snake. Get that. Stick it aside. So now we have our cable, right? Sticking out of the wall. Okay. Now, I didn't really skin too much wire. We're gonna probably have to skin a little bit more because it's better to work with, a little longer wire because you're gonna have to make cuts to install the receptacle and all that stuff. So let me skin this wire a little bit more. Normally I would use a roto split, but this jacket is really not that hard. I could just snap it like so, right? Snap it, just bend it a little bit. I'll use my trusty tin snips to just snip it. There you go. Get rid of the casing. There we go. Like that. And what we do is we'll take our tin snips, cut off the plastic, and clean up the ends. Like so, that little piece, clean up the ends. So it's not sharp. Make it dull as you can make it. All right, there's our wire, right? So what you need is an anti-short bushing. So this is what an anti-short bushing is. All right, little red head. In the industry they call it red head. You would stick it on like this. I'm trying to show it to you like this. So stick it on like that, and it goes inside the jacket like so. So you push it in as much as you can. Now what that does is it protects the wire from getting nicked by the metal skinned end. So there you go. All right. So I like to bring my wires in from the bottom if I'm installing a new receptacle because it's easier to work on it. So what I normally do is we'll take our box, right? Now, when you're using MC cable, you have a green ground, right? A green insulated ground. So it has its own ground, right? So the jacket of the cable is not a ground, right? It's not rated to be a ground. So what you have to do when using a metal box, this clip here inside will squeeze the metal of the jacket, but that acts as like a secondary ground, not the primary ground. So you have to install this. This is a green grounding tail with a green screw attached. Now, this box comes with holes, pre-manufactured holes right in there that this screw will thread into. They're already threaded. So what you do is, what I like to do is I take the green grounding tail, I bend it over at a 90-degree angle, like so, and I'll take my Phillips screwdriver and stick it on the screw, right, like this, stick it in the box, like that, and just turn it, right, and it's tightening. Go. And there you go. So you got a green grounding tail, and our ground wire will splice onto that. There you go. So, all right. So now we're going to install the box. All right. What I want to do is I want to clean up our OWC holes for OWC clips because these are a little bigger clips than I'm used to. They're kind of wider than normal ones. All right. So we'll take our wire with our anti-short red head bushing on there. Take our box, slide our box, all right? Slide our wire into the box, and just slide it up into the hole there, all right? Okay. Now what you do is you'll leave it loose. Leave it loose over here. Okay? Don't put it in yet. This gives you a little more play as you push the box into the wall. So we'll push the box into the wall, all right? There we go. Push the box into the wall, like so. Okay. And then what we'll do is we'll pull up on the wire, and it'll pull into the connector. Let's push it a little closer to see. Okay. We take our screwdriver, and as we see, the red head is poking out through. We'll tighten it up. Tighten up that gem clip or that cable clip. Okay. Yeah, we don't have to go crazy. Just snug it up. Again, it's not the primary ground. You have a ground. All right. So we've got the cable in the box. All right. Got the box there. Let's bend our cable out of the way. Now we're going to install our OWC clips, old word clips. So it looks like, again, I need to shave a little bit more because these OWC clips are huge. Okay. We'll stick our OWC clip in there. How's this up there? Okay. Stick our OWC clip in there. All right. Push it in there. Boom. There you go. There's one. All right. We have a second one. We're only got to shave it because it's giant. Oops. Shave a little more. There's our second clip. Stick that in there. Boom. Boom. There you go. So now, what you would do is you take your Phillips screwdriver, right, and you start tightening. Now, what that will do is, obviously these things are pushing against the front of the sheetrock, and on the back, the OWC clip is squeezing against the back of the sheetrock, so which holds the box in place. So you can start with the screwdriver, right? You know, to get it started. Some people will take their drill, and because it's a lot of, you're screwing for a while. So I'll show you. We can use a drill for a little bit. You just gotta go slow. You go too fast, you'll overspin the OWC clip, and it won't hold. Just go real slow. There you go. So you can see it's starting to pull in. There you go. Box is tight in the wall. Well, what I always like to do is I like to snug it up with the screwdriver because then I know it's tight. Go in nice and tight. Box is actually very tight in the wall. Looks good. Okay, so you have your green grounding tail, right, and your green wire. All right. So put those together, right, and there's your. I like to fold the wires in nice and neat, you know, because it makes it easy for later. So you got your hot and your neutral. Let's twist those. Here's your hot and your neutral. Okay, we'll get a little closer. Okay, so let me get my strippers. All right, we have our strippers. So what we're gonna do is, I like to leave a decent amount of wire sticking out of the wall, you know. So we'll cut them flush. You know, I like to leave you stick your plies in the box and you measure out. As long as you have like 8 inches, 9 inches of wire, you're pretty good. So what we'll do is we'll cut our green wire pretty much in line with our grounding tail. All right, so there's our grounding tail and there's our green wire, our green ground in the jacket. We'll use our strippers to strip it. We'll find the 12 gauge setting on our strippers, which is here. Boom. Okay, so now let me show you. Here's our 20 amp receptacle, right? We know it's 20 amp because it has that little slit there for a 20 amp plug. And it should say on it 20 amps. Right there it says 20 amps. So you can see that. 125 volt rating. So now in some municipalities you have to bring a wire from your ground to the ground screw on the receptacle. Some you don't, because this has this little spring here. Little spring that holds the screw in. It's called a self-grounding receptacle. But technically, if this is screwed in the wall, it would be self-grounded. But the rule of thumb is to always put a ground under these screws, because once you unscrew the receptacle from the wall, it's no longer grounded anywhere. So you might as well put a screw, put a green wire around the screw and splice it to your ground. So some areas, some municipalities or cities, wherever you live, require always to have a green ground wire on the ground screw. So let me get a little piece of number 12 green, and I'll show you how to install the receptacle. All right, so I got a little piece of number 12 green, and we'll strip it with our strippers. Find the 12 gauge setting. Oh, didn't do it that side. There we go. And stripped it. We'll take our trusty linesman pliers, bend the loop. Bend the loop. There you go. The loop. Close it a little bit more. Trying to do this and show you the best visual. So it makes it a little difficult to do it both at the same time. So let me take our loop and we'll loop it around the ground screw. There we go. Loop it in the ground screw. I like to take the strippers or the pliers and close it around the ground screw. So it's really on there good. So now it's on there good. We'll take our screwdriver. Tighten that ground screw. All right. Get nice and tight. There we go. Now we got that. Okay. Now we'll strip the other end of it. I'll cut off a little bit. Strip the other end of it. Okay. And what we'll do is we'll take our receptacle with the green wire, and we're going to splice all these green wires together. So take all 3 wires. I like to line them up where they are stripped and hold them tight, right? Right? We take our linesman's pliers, right? And we get a twist. And twist them together. Nice good splice. All right? And then we're always going to cross cut it at the end. And there you go. We'll take a wire nut. There's a wire nut. Get on there. And the wire nut. Like that. Take our pliers. Twist. 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 I usually like to twist it to where it's on there really good. Then I can't really twist it too much with my hands. So there you go. That's on there pretty good. So what I like to do with the grounds is we fold them in. Okay, take the wire nut, fold it like this, like that, and then you could fold it up inside, because the wire nut takes up a lot of room. So if we could fold it out of the way, then we have room for the receptacle to sit. We'll fold it in nice. There we go. Let's just fold it in. Okay, so there's our ground. Now we have our 2 conductors, right? We have our neutral and our hot leg. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut them clean. Cut them clean. Okay. Clean. Okay. We're going to strip them. Again, find the 12 gauge setting. Strip it. Boom. Here's a hot leg or a hot wire. There you go. Strip that. Now we're going to bring the loop. You know, some receptacles have stab backs in the back. I don't recommend them. You know, they're not as reliable as putting the wire around the screw. Okay. Just a little long. Trim that a little bit. Bring our loop. Loop there. See? Close it a little bit. Now, here's the important part, right? You got two sides of a receptacle, right? The silver screw is always going to be your neutral, okay? And there's your neutral plug. You know, your neutral blade will plug into there. This side has a gold screw. So standard is white on neutral, white on silver, black on gold. Neutral, silver, black, gold. And you always want to put your wires, right? You always want to put your wires in the same way the screw turns, right? So rule of thumb also is always do the neutral first. Okay? So there you go. We'll take our neutral wire, hook it around our screw. Again, always putting it the way the screw turns. Okay. There you go. Okay. Screwdriver. Tighten it. Nice and tight. There we go. I like to tighten the other screw that we're not using too, because sometimes they come loose from the manufacturer. All right, so there you go. Now we take our hot. Again, make sure the loop is going in the same direction as the screw is. There you go. So on there. We'll tighten that up. There we go. Okay. Now, here's an industry trick that my dad taught me, and most electricians do this, is tape your receptacles, right? Nowhere in the code does it tell you to tape your receptacles in the code books. But the fact that we have a live screw here, and we have a neutral screw here, and we're using a metal box, right? We're not using a plastic box like this. You should always tape your receptacles. I think you should always tape them always, just to be safe. But what you do is you take your electrical tape, you start around the back, right? And you take your tape and you run it around the receptacle, like so. Okay, I like to do 2 bands around. This way, anybody opening this up, if they move the receptacle left or right and they touch the side of the box, they're not going to get a short. They're not going to, get a spark or trip the circuit. Okay. Let's around the damn screw a little bit. You want that. Go around and then just pull it. Like, there you go. There's your receptacle, right? Now, a lot of people don't do this, but they should. Right? So these tabs here, they're designed to be broken off, especially if you're using a cut-in gem box, an old work box like this. Okay? So what you do is you take this one, you break off right here. So you take your pliers and you break them off. Okay? Break off your tab. And you break off this tab here, the bottom. There you go, like that. The reason is this right here sits in this groove perfectly. Sits in it. And that's why we put those clips back, these clips forward about an eighth of an inch. So it sits in there flush perfectly, right? So we roll our wires in, nice and easy. Roll them in. Okay. There we go. Easy. Line up our screws, which we have right. Look at my old screwdriver. Line up our screws. We'll start our screws. Screw it in. Then our bottom screw, like so. All right. I like to get them started. Then I like to move the outlet around, push in. See how it sits in there perfectly? It's sitting in those grooves perfectly. So we'll finish it off. I don't really like to use screw guns when it comes to screwing these screws in, because if you could over screw them, you would strip out the box threads. Well, go nice and slow with your Phillips screwdriver. So you get your receptacle nice and flush in between those clips. See? Screw it in. Looks nice and level, right? Vertical. Right? And what we'll do is we'll take this is an unbreakable plate, which means it's made of a softer plastic, so it won't snap. We'll open that up. There you go. Put your plate on. All right. Let's get our flathead screwdriver. There you go. Nice and clean. And I like to do my screws vertical. The same, just looks cleaner. Screw vertical. And there you go. 20-amp receptacle installed. You had a desk, you had a lamp, you didn't have an outlet. Install your own outlet. It wasn't too hard, and I think homeowners can do this with a little bit of knowledge and some tools, and I think it all worked out well. Well, that concludes today's show. I hope I was helpful in teaching you guys how to install a 20-amp receptacle in your homes. This is something that homeowners could be able to do themselves with a little knowledge, some tools, and some material. And like I said, the purpose of this podcast is to teach you guys everything I know. And I'd like to share my knowledge, my vast knowledge with you guys in the electrical field and in any field related to home improvement,